Okay, in this video, I'm going to do these logarithm exercises, and here's one of them. Okay, here's one of them. 2 log 4x equals 1 plus log 4 2x minus 3. And the first thing you got to do is just use the log rules to simplify. So multiplying by 2 on the outside of the log is the same as taking a power of 2 on the inside of the log. That's the power rule. And adding 1 to the log on the front is the same as a multiplying on the inside of the log. What do we multiply by? In this case, because it's log 4, so log of 4 equals 1. So this 1 in the front, you could think of it as a log 4 of 4. So we're multiplying by 4. 4 times 2x minus 3. Okay, so there you go. That's the beginning. And let me make sure that's what they did. Okay, they did it slightly different way in the notes, but this is how I'm doing it. And now I have the log of something equals the log of something else. Therefore, the two things must be equal. So therefore, x squared equals 4 times 2x minus 3. And this is a quadratic equation. X squared minus 8x, 4 times 2x is 8x. Move it to the other side, minus 8x. 4 times minus 3, negative 12. Move to the other side, plus 12 equals 0. So that's what you get after some algebra. Feel free to slow down and pause it. Do the algebra yourself. And now I got to solve this thing. So I can do the quadratic equation, or I can try to factor it. I got to think of two numbers that add to negative 8 and multiply to 12. What about negative 6 and negative 2? X minus 6, x minus 2. Negative 6 times negative 2 is 12. Great. Negative 6 plus negative 2 is negative 8. Great. So therefore, x equals 6 or x equals 2. Those are the two solutions, which is what they got. Okay. One thing it is warning you about in the written solution and that you should check is to make sure that the original answers make sense in the original equation. And that is because if, for example, x was negative, then it wouldn't make sense in this equation. So even though we got this equation, in this step where we undid the logarithm, this step only makes sense. Only makes sense if x is greater than 0. Or maybe more generally, if the stuff under the logarithm is greater than 0. If log of stuff is stuff greater than 0. So whatever is in the logarithm has to be greater than 0. And we have x equals 6 and x equals 2. Let's check and make sure. So x equals 2 is okay over here, and x equals 6 is okay over here. So that one was okay. But this one, 2x minus 3, when x equals 2, you get 2 times 2 minus 3. That's fine. And when x equals 6, you get 2 times 6 minus 3, which is also fine. That's also positive. So both of these are okay. But if, for example, you had x equals 1, that would not be okay because you'd have 2 times 1 minus 3. That would be a negative number. Okay, so x equals 6 and x equals 2, and they're perfectly correct. That's the final answer. Okay, let's do the one on the next page. The next page. Solve log of x minus 3 plus log of x equals 1. This, they wrote log with no base. That means log 10. Adding outside the logarithms is the same as multiplying inside the logarithms. So we have the log of x minus 3 times x is equal to 1. And by the way, 1 is equal to the log of 10, right? That's the same kind of thing we did last time. 10 to the power 1 equals 10. And we're working in log base 10 here. So 1 is the log of 10. And now the log of something equals 10 is the log of 10. So the something has to equal 10. So x minus 3 times x equals 10. Expand things out. X squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. So I'm thinking of two numbers that multiply to negative 10 and add to negative 3. What about x minus 5 times x plus 2? That's my factoring. Looks good to me. And so therefore, x equals 5 or x equals negative 2. And in this situation, it really is the case that only one of these solutions makes sense in the original equation. So going back to check, x equals 5 is perfectly good. 5 minus 3 is 2, that's fine. And x equals 5 is fine here. But x equals negative 2 is not fine. Is not fine. And that's because when x equals negative 2, you have a negative number here and here. The log of a negative number is not defined. So you know, our equation got us to x equals 5 or x equals negative 2, but x equals negative 2 is not a solution. Not a solution. So what is the final answer? It's only, therefore, x equals 5 is the only solution. The only solution. Okay. All right, that was that one. 114.